Tonight, a cold case heats up.
We feel after so long, people actually are starting to talk.
Why the RCMP are taking a closer look at the decades-old disappearance and presumed murder of a teenage girl from Pungassi First Nation. Also tonight.
And those are things like access to clean water, sanitation services, and hygiene supplies.
How one local group is springing into action after back-to-back earthquakes rock Venezuela. Plus, learning and adapting.
These things stay with people forever. They're significant.
What we can learn from severe weather and how one group is using that information to better protect people's homes.
CTV News. Live from downtown Winnipeg with Marilee Caruso.
Good evening. Thanks for joining us. I'm John Hendricks. Marilee is away. Mounties are asking for the public's help to solve a 38-year-old cold case. It involves a First Nations teenager. RCMP say 15-year-old Betsy Owens went missing from Pungassi First Nation in 1988 after going to a school dance. Her body has never been found, and police say she is presumed dead. CTV's Jeff Keel joins us now live. So, Jeff, after all these years, why is the RCMP doing this now?
They believe as time has gone on, more people are willing to talk and get things off their chest, and Mounties say they've already had some people come forward with information for the first time. 38 years ago, 15-year-old Betsy Rosa Owens went missing and was never found. Now, Mounties are asking for help.
We do believe that there are key people in that community that know a lot more information that can help us solve this case.
RCMP say in 1988, Betsy went to a school dance in Pungassi First Nation. Witnesses saw her leaving the dance against her will, then taken to a home and never seen again. Police say they believe she was murdered. Her body has never been located.
The main question today is, what happened?
In an effort to push people to come forward, Mounties made this video with family and community members looking for answers and seeking closure.
I just want to say to the people of Pungassi, all I want is my sister to come rest beside family.
You always talk about this. Nobody forgets. Nobody will ever forget.
Investigators have been traveling to the First Nation often. They feel people are more willing to talk now that time has passed.
This has bugged them for a long, long time, and they feel it's the right thing to do. We've had a couple people that have never spoken to anyone before, and now they're coming forward.
And they feel the person or persons responsible for Betsy's disappearance and death were from the community of 700.
There were arrests back then in the 90s, not enough to proceed with charges.
A tip line has been set up. Anyone with information is asked to call the Manitoba RCMP Historical Case Unit tip line at 204-984-5604.
Thanks, Jeff. A local organization is mobilizing help for Venezuela so aid can be provided following a pair of devastating and deadly earthquakes. Officials say at least 188 people have been killed and more than 200 are trapped and many more are feared dead. The first 7.2 magnitude earthquake struck west of Morón on the Caribbean coast, about 170 kilometers west of Caracas. And just a minute later, the U.S. Geological Survey recorded a second 7.5 magnitude earthquake southwest of the area. Now, Canadian Lutheran World Relief has launched an emergency appeal to support affected families with critical needs, including providing emergency shelter kits, basic hygiene supplies, and clean water. The organization says through its partners at Lutheran World Federation, it already has boots on the ground in the region.
They've been present there for many years, and in fact, the experience that they're now going through, this is something that they experience very directly. Many of these staff slept outside last night, we've been told. So they're affected by the impacts of this earthquake very directly, very personally. The communities that they're partnering with are in fact their neighbors, and they're working with them together to jointly find a way to respond and support people that are most acutely impacted by this.
If you're interested in learning more, you can head to clwr.org/Venezuela. And we will have the latest on the recovery efforts and the unfolding situation in Venezuela a little later on in the show. An Air Force base in Winnipeg is expanding, and Winnipeg's mayor hopes it will be a boon for the city's construction sector.
When Department of National Defense puts out a contract, not just anybody can bid. You've got to be qualified.
Getting Winnipeg companies ready to bid on 17 Wings expansion is why a panel was held today featuring Mayor Scott Gillingham, the base commander, and the Winnipeg Construction Association. It's providing information on the specific requirements to enter the National Defense procurement process, which includes things like security clearances. The first phase of expansion is a National Defense substation.
The substation will be the power requirements for us to be able to bring in the new projects, for example, future aircrew training program, the future kayak capability, these projects that have been announced and funded.
17 Wing is in the planning phase of the expansion and building new space to accommodate further projects over the next 5 to 20 years. The expansion is expected to support up to 1,400 jobs. MPI rates could soon be on the way up in Manitoba. The public insurer is asking for an increase on its general rate application with the Public Utilities Board. The Crown Corporation is asking for an approval of just under 2.4% increase to its overall rates for the 2027-2028 insurance year. It says the request is based on 3 factors: forecasted claims cost, the corporation's ongoing costs, and investment income. The release says recent extreme weather events, such as hailstorms 2 weeks ago and the resulting jump in the number of claims afterward, do not have an impact on the rate request submitted Wednesday. MPI says such isolated and extreme events are covered by the Crown Corporation's own reinsurance provider. And speaking of MPI, it's opening up a second hail response center following an influx of storm claims. The Crown Corporation says the June 9th storm resulted in 25,000 claims, the largest number it's ever received from a single weather event. The new center, which is located at its Main Street Service Center in Winnipeg, will offer damage assessment appointments for those in the city and surrounding areas. Now, after opening a claim, customers will be contacted with information about how to book at one of the hail response centers. That's across the 2 locations that MPI will now be able to offer 400 daily appointments. MPI is also completing initial damage assessment at its Arborg Service Center due to the more than 200 claims opened in the Interlake region. The initial claims center at its Gateway location opened last week and has already completed 1,800 assessments. CTV weather specialist Colleen Brady joins us now with the first look at your Skywatch evening forecast, and hopefully we won't be getting a lot of hail this evening.
Well, hopefully not, but there are once again thunderstorms firing off all around us. You can see still some lightning firing up this hour right around Swan River, but check this out. To the southeast and the east of the city through the White Shell, all these non-severe thunderstorms in progress right now over the border into northwestern Ontario. And there could be a lot more thunderstorm development in the days ahead, and they could well become severe. I will show you why coming up, but for now, let's take a look through the CTV Live Eye. It is brought to you by Bathfitter, exclusive home of the PermaFit solution. In Winnipeg right now, it is 25 degrees with the Humidex. It feels like 27. Winds picking up out of the north-northwest at 10 kilometers an hour with some gusts up to 27. The pressure is dropping and the humidity right now, John, is 42%.
Thanks, Colleen. Some Manitobans are still dealing with the fallout from that destructive storm system that rolled through the province on June 9th. And a group of scientists and engineers are in town this week to not only study those storms, but share how Manitobans can prepare for these types of weather events in the future. CTV's Daniel Homerson reports.
2, 1. This isn't a science fair project on steroids. It's a real-time look at how destructive severe weather can be. You're looking at a golf ball-sized piece of ice traveling at over 100 kilometers per hour. And hailstones even bigger than this hammered parts of Manitoba during severe storms on June 9th.
So those were supercells, so they were really significant thunderstorm events. They spun off some tornadoes, a hailstone from a resident that was 8 centimeters. So these are really large hailstones.
Gregory Kopp and his team from Western University's Canadian Severe Storms Lab study summer weather events across Canada, focusing on tornadoes, damaging winds, large hail, and flash flooding. And Kopp says these types of disastrous storms are happening more frequently.
We're trying to capture this data to understand the changing patterns. Tornadoes seem to be shifting eastward, for example.
The lab uses the data to learn how to build tougher infrastructure by using materials like hurricane straps, along with impact-resistant shingles and siding.
We can look at things that help protect houses from tornadoes and keep them intact, to backwater valves that keeps water out of your basement when there's a massive thunderstorm.
Kopp says proactive measures don't just make houses safer, they help reduce losses caused by severe weather.
Every one of these events, we're always talking about billions of dollars now. That affects insurance rates. It's kind of like death by 1,000 cuts, all these things. And if we can reduce the losses, it keeps insurance affordable.
Daniel Halmerson, CTV News, Winnipeg.
The City of Winnipeg's energy use and emissions climbed in 2025, with the Public Service saying greenhouse gas levels will need to decline faster for the city to meet its targets. Both metrics, energy usage and emissions, rose by about 1.5% last year. The increase in emissions was largely driven by CO2 emissions from the landfill, increased diesel fuel consumption, and increased use of natural gas. The largest single increase in energy consumption came from city facility buildings, which consumed 4% more energy, mostly because of the demand for heat. The city's use of electricity dropped, but emissions actually increased. The Public Service says that's partly because 2 years of low water means Manitoba Hydro's electricity generation came from more carbon-intensive generators. The Winnipeg Police Service is modernizing its bike patrol. 16 new e-bikes have been added to the service's bicycle fleet. They'll be deployed across all 4 districts for use in combination with the mountain bikes traditionally used by the patrol. Members say the new bikes allow them to reach a scene faster.
I've been on the regular mountain bikes when there's a call maybe a few blocks away, and by the time you get there, you're huffing and puffing and out of gas. With the e-bike, that allows you to kind of maintain yourself a little bit more and be able to react to the situation once we arrive on scene.
The bike patrol allows officers to access locations with a lot of foot traffic that's difficult to reach by traditional police cruisers, like parks and trails, and also attend special events. 25 officers have completed the specialized bicycle patrol training. The patrol operates between May and October. A Manitoba trade delegation is in Japan this week, trying to drum up interest in our province's exports, particularly from the agriculture sector.
Just to do that marketing job of saying Manitoba is open for business, we have high quality agricultural products, and we're looking to export more. So it's a time for us to sing for our supper a little bit and make new relationships that are going to help us export to new countries.
Speaking with Your Morning Winnipeg, Premier Wab Kinew said the Agriculture Minister is being joined by representatives from Manitoba Pork for the mission. Manitoba's Ag Minister is coming off a series of meetings across the Indo-Pacific region, including in Thailand, Vietnam, China, and Hong Kong. And while the province looks to markets outside North America, the Premier says they're also keeping an eye on next week's CUSMA deadline. By July 1st, Canada, the United States, and Mexico must decide if they want to renew the agreement for another 16 years or begin a review process. Both Canada and the U.S. have formally declared they want an extension, while the U.S. position remains unclear.
We do have the big Selkirk steel mill, so that's one area that we're very, very concerned with on the CUSMA relationship. But then if you look across our economy, the manufacturing that we have, the agriculture that we have, they're not in the crosshairs right now, but we don't want to lose any ground there either. So that's going to be an important thing for Manitobans to watch through these negotiations.
Kinew also noted the U.S. Ambassador Pete Hoekstra will be in town tomorrow, and officials hope to get a little more clarity on CUSMA and trade opportunities between our two countries. Saturday will mark 1 year since Winnipeg's iconic Portage and Main intersection reopened to pedestrians. But the future of the underground concourse and the businesses there remains unclear.
First of all, we continue to work with the property owners on the four corners of Portage and Main to hear them and to hear their concerns. Our staff wants to, is taking a look at what can be done in the underground, whether we do need to close it or whether there's some other means by which we can address the issue.
Mayor Scott Gillingham says he stands by his decision to not pursue costly repairs to replace a leaking waterproof membrane, which could potentially keep the concourse open. That project would have cost in excess of $70 million. However, the mayor says the company that reopened the intersection actually made some repairs on the membrane as part of the work, but it's not clear how much of it was fixed. A Pembina Trails Elementary School has a new name. Dalhousie School will now be known as Onibimanon. It's the word from which Pembina originates and means summer berries. The name was chosen in consultation with language and knowledge keepers. A decision was made to change the name after a report from Dalhousie University found Lord Dalhousie enacted policies during his time as Nova Scotia governor that negatively impacted Black people in Canada. Signage, communication, and materials will be updated with the new name in the coming months. Well, still to come tonight, the latest after deadly back-to-back earthquakes rock Venezuela.
And then I felt the ground shaking a little bit, and then just mass panic.
The race to find survivors and Prime Minister Mark Carney's pledge to supply aid when we return. The Royal Bank of Canada has received an administrative monetary penalty of $4.25 million applied by the Financial Consumer Agency of Canada for a violation of the Bank Act. According to a summary of proceedings released today by the federal agency, RBC violated a consumer provision by failing to transfer credits from deactivated credit card accounts to customers' new accounts. Between 2001 and 2024, more than 227,000 accounts were impacted. Taking a look at the markets now, crude oil added $1.58. The loonie rose to 70.40 cents U.S. Gold futures gained nearly $39. The TSX was up 114 points. The Dow Jones added 71, and the Nasdaq lost 118. Rescue crews in Venezuela are seeing the devastation up close and personal after two powerful earthquakes struck the South American nation just seconds apart. Millions are affected, and there are fears the death toll could be in the thousands. CTV's Heather Wright reports.
A woman waves a piece of clothing from this building in La Guaira, Venezuela, one of many people trapped inside their homes, following two of the most devastating earthquakes to hit Venezuela in more than a century. Both quakes struck near the country's northern coast. The first, a magnitude 7.2, hit around 6:04 p.m. The second, a magnitude 7.5, came just 40 seconds later.
And then I felt the ground shaking a little bit, and then just mass panic.
Rescue crews and civilians spent the night combing through the rubble of toppled buildings trying to find survivors. The two major earthquakes battering the country's already fragile infrastructure. More than 100 people are confirmed dead, with thousands of people still missing.
It's heartbreaking.
John Rosenberg is from Caracas and now lives in Toronto. He's worried about all the people still missing and about the devastating long-term impact these quakes will have on the country.
We feel like there was finally a recovery starting to happen, and to see the devastation and to see how much the infrastructure has suffered.
Today, Venezuela's President Delcy Rodriguez called for unity in the face of this disaster, which will likely further test her presidency. Rodriguez was installed after the United States ousted former President Nicolas Maduro in January. While Venezuela is an oil-rich country, decades of corruption and record-high inflation mean many services have been hollowed out, complicating rescue efforts. Today, Canada was among the many nations promising help.
We're working with our partners directly, and we will scale things as appropriate. to move forward.
The Prime Minister says one of the challenges the government is facing when it comes to helping Canadians on the ground in Venezuela is that Canada does not have an embassy there. While there are no imminent plans to reopen one, Mark Carney says this disaster is a reminder of the importance of having a presence in foreign countries, even adversarial ones. Heather Wright, CTV News, Toronto.
In other international news, a powerful earthquake rattled the northern coast of Japan during rush hour this morning. The magnitude 7.2 earthquake injured at least 8 people in a country that has regularly endured strong tremors. Meantime, flash floods triggered by heavy rain have swept through parts of India. The flooding damaged homes, uprooted trees, and covered roads in thick mud. At least 1 person has been killed and 4 others are missing. Back in Canada, in the wake of Monday's shooting in Montreal, a prominent gun control group is reiterating calls for the federal government to immediately end the new sales of SKS model weapons. CTV's Annie Bergeron-Oliver has the latest.
Days after the deadly shooting, the scene is looking more like business as usual. Pedestrians have returned and many shops have reopened, but the memorial is still there, a lasting reminder of the lives lost and the questions still lingering, like why this happened and how. I'm upset by this. I'm really upset. The suspect has been identified as 25-year-old Seth Scott Hatfield of Lethbridge, Alberta. Police have not identified the type of firearm used in Monday's shooting, but images circulating online show a long gun lying on the ground that experts believe is likely a Russian SKS.
It's kind of fuzzy, but the SKS has a very distinctive feature. It has an integral bayonet that folds underneath the barrel, and you can see on the rifle in the picture what appears to be that integral bayonet.
Experts say the semi-automatic Soviet-era rifle and its many modified versions is a popular rifle among legal gun owners in Canada and among Indigenous hunters. But after Monday's shooting, the gun advocacy group Police et Souviens is reiterating calls for an immediate ban on all new sales of the SKS. A rifle, Police et Souviens says, has been linked to a number of mass shootings.
That's not taking anything away from anybody. That's just not allowing the problem to get even worse.
Ottawa says it is in the process of a broad review of Canada's firearm classification regime, and that will include consultations with Indigenous communities on the SKS.
We would have to introduce legislation for that to make those determinations, to make and to provide the full resources and the direct determinations so that they are made clearly, consistently in advance and particularly as there are new firearms coming on.
The gun advocacy group Canadian Coalition for Firearms Rights accuses Police et Souviens of using this tragedy to push a long-held position against the SKS while ignoring the suspect's violent manifesto. They argue any gun could have been used in this shooting. Annie Bergeron-Oliver, CTV News, Montreal.
We have new audio from a nerve-wracking situation on an Air Canada flight yesterday where the pilot had a medical emergency in the air.
The pilot is incapacitated. The flight is being manned by the co-pilot.
Now that's what it sounded like from Boston Fire Dispatch. The flight took off from Newark en route to Halifax, and about an hour in, the captain had a serious medical episode. The co-pilot quickly took over and landed the plane safely in Boston, where medical crews were waiting. Prime Minister Mark Carney was in Ottawa today addressing reporters in a wide-ranging press conference to wrap up this year's parliamentary sitting. He also revealed more details from yesterday's phone call with President Donald Trump. But with just 1 week to go before the deadline to review the Canada-US-Mexico trade agreement, Mark Carney said the deal wasn't discussed. Here's CTV's senior correspondent Abigail Biman with the details.
Morning. The Prime Minister ran through his record, touting a successful spring session.
We have the right plan. We're on track, but there's much more to do.
Taking questions, Mark Carney peeled back the curtain on what he called a long conversation with President Trump and senior officials, including Secretary of War Pete Hegseth.
On a range of issues, some related to NATO, some related to the situation in Iran and the broader Middle East, both current and structural issues. Is a very constructive conversation. There's things we're working on together.
He wouldn't share details on Iran, but with the deadline for a review of the North American Free Trade Deal next week,
We didn't discuss Kuzma yesterday.
Mr. Carney has a long telephone conversation with the president and doesn't even bring it up. What could be a greater priority to this country?
CTV News asked the Prime Minister about these comments from the U.S. ambassador.
Obviously, we're not anywhere close to announcing any type of a framework or an interim agreement.
What I have seen with the president is that you're not close to make a deal and then you make a deal. So both things can be true.
Carney said Canada is holding out for a reason.
We could sign a bad deal this afternoon, right? We could have signed a bad deal a year ago. We're not going to sign a bad deal. So it has to be a real deal.
The Prime Minister also teased another topic, promising an announcement on the future of 24 Sussex. That's the official residence of the Prime Minister in disrepair that hasn't been lived in a decade. Abigail Beeman, CTV News, Ottawa.
A NASA satellite has found 2 planets with a density similar to that of cotton candy. The space agency is referring to them as super puffs. The planets got that name because they are about the size of Jupiter but have less than 6% of its mass. NASA detected their shadows as they passed in front of their sun. The planets are more than 1,100 light years away, and scientists are not sure exactly what they look like. This is an artist's interpretation.
When you lose, you fine-tooth comb it, and when you win, you fine-tooth comb it, and you try and be better and better and better and better.
Just ahead, we hear from Blue Bombers players and the head coach ahead of tonight's matchup with the Edmonton Elks.
Well, I'm not
Canada's men have officially advanced further in the World Cup than they ever have before.
Ball over the top towards Saliba. Saliba bringing it down. Across it goes to Promise David! Immediate impact from Promise David, and Canada get one back.
The only small disappointment is that they lost 2-1 to Switzerland, which means their next game will be in Los Angeles instead of Vancouver. Canada will face South Africa Sunday in the knockout round. The Blue Bombers are back in action tonight at Princess Auto Stadium. They're looking to improve to 2-1 on the season against a tough Edmonton Elks squad. Here's CTV's Daniel Halmerson to get you set for tonight's game.
On second and 10, we'll go over the top.
A bad loss in the CFL can leave a bad taste in your mouth, especially when you have a bye week to let it soak in.
When we first got back, people were still ticked off, and people are always going to be ticked off when you lose a football game. But, you use that, you use it as a chip on your shoulder to go attack the week.
The Winnipeg Blue Bombers dropped their home opener 2 weeks ago against the high-powered Hamilton Ticats, coughing up 37 points in front of a sold-out crowd.
When you lose, you fine-tooth comb it, and when you win, you fine-tooth comb it, and you try and be better and better and better and better. So nobody's happy about that.
And while the blue and gold offense has been putting up points early in the season, the defense has been slow out of the gate, especially against the run.
It's something that we haven't been good at the past 2 weeks, and we need to clean up and be better at. So it's definitely a priority for us, and that's our main focus going into the game.
And things won't get easier Thursday night when the 2-0 Edmonton Elks come to town, led by explosive running back Justin Rankin, who has already racked up 281 yards on the ground.
The guy is very special with the ball in his hands, and I think as a fan it's probably very exciting to watch his game. I envy his speed. When the ball's in his hand, he has the ability to take it 70, 80, 90 yards.
Defensive tackle Jake Seresna says stopping Rankin will be a tall task, and it starts with making tackles.
You got to do a better job tackling, wrapping up. A lot of that too is pursuit, just having extra guys at the ball, swarming, and having those gang tackles helps that a lot.
Meantime, quarterback Zach Caleros is confident the Bombers are coming out of the bye week with some of their early season kinks worked out on both sides of the ball.
Happy with how practice went, just from an effort and energy standpoint. I think people were dialed in as they should be.
Kickoff from Princess Auto Stadium goes at 7:30. Daniel Halmerson, CTV News, Winnipeg.
Well, if you're planning on heading to the Winnipeg Blue Bombers game tonight, you can expect some traffic delays. The Blue and Gold are warning fans about major construction work, which could lead to some detours. The city has shut down eastbound access from University Crescent onto Abenogi-Mikana. The northbound to eastbound ramp there is closed until August 3rd. And if you planned on traveling down University Crescent, well, don't. Drivers will be redirected onto northbound Pembina Highway. Also, if you use the parking lots, which are accessed through University Crescent, you must exit using the same road. The Bombers will take on the Edmonton Elks at 7:30.
CTV Skywatch weather brought to you by South Beach Casino and Resort. Visit southbeachcasino.ca.
CTV weather specialist Colleen Brady has your complete Skywatch weather forecast. And Colleen, I'm sure a lot of people are wondering, will there be rain at the game tonight?
Well, at least during the first quarter of the game, John, there is the risk of thunderstorms with a low chance of showers, but for good reason. Take a look at the satellite radar. We have scattered showers. We have non-severe thunderstorms off to the west, but much closer here to Winnipeg, we've got those thunderstorms to the east and to the southeast of the city, granted, but still that risk is there all across Manitoba tonight. Not only have the temperatures been increasing today, so has the atmospheric instability, and it will continue to do so in the day and night ahead. And so is the humidity. So on top of the possibility of thunderstorms that could well become severe as we push into the weekend, watch for fog to be developing in the overnight hours over the next few nights, including tonight across a large swath of Manitoba. But I want to zoom in on the southeastern corner of the province, the Whiteshell, and over the border into the Kenora area there. You can see all those thunderstorms and those showers moving through right now. Non-severe at this point, but there is the potential that could change, but it looks like they should stay sub-severe for the rest of the night. But for the rest of the province, well, we can see scattered showers are a possibility in the north, too. Very similar conditions in both halves of the province. And as warm as it was here today, it was just as warm, if not a bit warmer, in the north in the mid-20s. Once we get past the middle evening, then we'll start to see that threat of thunderstorms diminish significantly across much of the province, not just out at Princess Auto Stadium. Overnight, you see we clear out considerably both across Manitoba and east into northwestern Ontario, taking us into Friday. Having said that, there will be a trough of low pressure developing over the western United States. That's going to send a southwesterly flow our way as we go throughout the day on Friday. And that's just going to make atmospheric conditions that much more unstable by the time we get to Friday night. But before we get there, like today, once we get into the afternoon, that possibility of scattered showers returns. But scattered in the south, more widespread is the expectation of showers or potential thunder showers across the north. But then, as I mentioned, as we get to late Friday night, that's when the potential that thunderstorms could start to become severe as we move throughout the weekend. Overnight, though, it doesn't look like much is happening, right? But we get into Saturday, and you can see in the southwest, they're in for a soaking there. For tonight, again, we have that bomber game. The risk of thunderstorms is really for the next couple of hours. 14 is the low, partly cloudy overnight, light winds out of the southeast. Tomorrow morning, 17 for your Friday morning, mix of sun and clouds, still light southeast winds. In the afternoon, up to 25, again with that chance of showers with the thunderstorm risk. The UV index for tomorrow, it's Friday, just in case you didn't know that, 7 or high for the city. Quick swing around the province tonight, just a few clouds over Churchill down to 4. Best chance of showers in the northeast is around Gillam and Island Lake. Thunder showers are possible. Thompson all the way up to 27 tomorrow with a chance of showers. Clearing out this evening over Lynn Lake. Showers quite possible for Norway House, maybe a thunder shower. And then around the region, mix of sun and cloud, upper 20s highs with that chance of afternoon showers. Tonight in the southwest, the possibility too of that risk of thunderstorms. Watch for fog overnight down to 12, 11 degrees around the region. Mix of sun and cloud. I know you can pretty much predict what I'm going to say. A chance of showers in the afternoon, highs around 23, 24. Winnipeg in the southeast, much the same. Watch for fog overnight. Once that risk of thunderstorms subsides, it will come back, that risk, tomorrow afternoon, along with a low chance of showers and nice highs around 25 degrees under a mix of sun and cloud. Ditto for northwestern Ontario. The chance of showers or thunderstorms, well, some are already moving through right now, but for the rest of the evening, a little bit higher than in Manitoba. And then tomorrow, mix of sun and cloud, again with that afternoon chance of showers returning with highs right around 25. Look at this photo. Isn't it fantastic? Look at that dark cloud. That is over Peguis First Nation. Cynthia took that photo. She takes lots of great photos for us. Lori took this photo along Highway 3 near Morden, Manitoba. Email us yours to winnipegweather@ctv.ca.
A report from the Canadian Institute for Health Information has found 1 in 10 Canadians who visited an ER had a wait of more than 14 hours. Coming up, I speak with an expert about what's behind those wait times and what some possible solutions might be. Manitobans are waiting hours and sometimes days in emergency rooms across the province. And it's a similar story across the country. But a new report from the Canadian Institute for Health Information suggests the problem doesn't actually begin in the ER. With more, we're joined now by Dr. Alex Chokanoff, from the head of the Department of Emergency Medicine at U of M. Thanks so much for joining us. So Doctor, if the problem doesn't start in the emergency room itself, where does the problem begin?
Well, the problem begins in a multiplicity of places in the healthcare system, and if any of those places can't accommodate their patient population, their universal contingency plan is to go to the emergency department. So we are backed up from the hospital wards, we're backed up from specialist offices that can't see a patient in a timely manner, primary care offices, people who need urgent imaging. Really, we are the universal landing place, and so the emergency department manifests the ills that beset the system, and the CIHI has made that point in this report, that it's easy to measure ED waiting times, but that doesn't imply that they're the cause of the waiting times.
Now, the report also talks about how there's a lot of comorbidities or different health problems that people are coming to the ERs with. What impact do you think that is having on the actual ERs?
Well, the population is aging. We do a lot of great things to patients now to keep them alive longer, but that just means the level of acuity or sickness of the patients we see has risen over the years. So we see people with chronic illnesses who are still going, but get an exacerbation. In addition to the trauma and the car accidents and the heart attacks that we usually see. And of course, our population is growing older, and a big part of the patients who are stuck in the emergency department and can't get upstairs are the elderly, and they do not do well boarded in an emergency department for 1 or 2 days.
Now, in the report, you mentioned that wait time issues are different in city ERs as compared with rural. Now, what's driving the slowdowns in rural communities?
Well, the biggest problem in rural EDs across the country is a manpower problem. We don't have the workforce to staff them, and so as a result, many smaller emergency departments are not open every day. They might be open only in the day and evening, or closed to half the days of the week. And really, that does not satisfy the definition of an emergency department. An emergency department has to be there 24/7 for the community it serves.
You know, I think a lot of us have a feeling of hopelessness when it comes to these long wait times. Do you see any solutions on the horizon?
Well, there are some potential solutions. They're not easy solutions, and they're not easily implementable, but the Canadian Association of Emergency Physicians and other organizations do have plans, frameworks for redesigning our healthcare system, but these aren't a series of quick fixes that can be implemented in a month or even a year. This is a multi-year health redesign plan that exceeds the mandate of most political parties. And the problem is that a long-term planning process runs head-on into election cycles.
Do any of those plans include building more long-term care facilities, things of that nature?
Absolutely. Now, there has to be more accommodation for patients who are leaving hospital, both in the community and alternate levels of care. That's one of the biggest problems that's besetting emergency department, is that the acute care hospitals can't get their patients out to community and long-term care facilities, and then that backs up into the emergency department.
Yeah, well, I imagine that we are going to be discussing this problem for many years to come. Thank you so much for making time to speak with us today, Doctor. I appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thanks for your interest.
A Canadian study suggests using less breast cancer treatment may be just as effective and with fewer side effects. The study challenges the assumption that more treatment is always better. The study followed more than 200 postmenopausal women with early-stage breast cancer. Half received the recommended 7 doses of zoledronic acid. The others received a single infusion. After 5 years, the researchers found no meaningful difference in cancer reoccurrence, cancer spread, or death. France's health ministry has confirmed that the Ebola virus has infected a doctor who worked in the Congo. The individual returned from a humanitarian mission in one of the virus transmission zones in an African country and was taken into care at a specialized facility in France. The Congolese health ministry says they are closing in on 1,100 confirmed cases of Ebola, including 277 deaths. The Ebola outbreak caused by a rare strain of the virus has no vaccines or treatment, and officials admit there could be far more cases that they don't know about. The next bag of M&Ms that you buy might not contain blue or brown candies. Mars Wrigley says it's producing a version of the classic treat without certain dyes. They're on a list of artificial colors that regulators have flagged. The candy maker says the new bags of M&Ms without blue or brown will be available on Amazon later this year. Other M&M products will still contain those original colors. The company adds that it's also working on such changes for Skittles, Starburst, and extra products.
Medical Watch is brought to you by Manukin Koster Denture Clinic.
Bond. James Bond.
Producers are reportedly closing in on a new actor to fill the role of the world's most famous MI6 agent. We'll explain next in Spotlight.
Spotlight, sponsored by the Casinos of Winnipeg, presenting Las Vegas headliner Terry Fader.
The downtown Winnipeg Farmers Market is back, and it's looking a little different this year. Vendors lined Graham Avenue earlier today, selling homemade crafts, baked goods, and much more. The market traditionally sets up behind the Manitoba Hydro building, but shifted this year because Graham is no longer a bus route. You can find the market every other Thursday between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. It next returns July 9th. Well, several years into the search for a new James Bond, a report says producers are getting closer to a final decision.
Name? Bond. James Bond.
Daniel Craig stepped down from the role after 2021's No Time to Die. Last year, Canada's own Denis Villeneuve was revealed as the director of the next film in the spy franchise. Now, sources tell Deadline the Bond team is now letting actors know if they made it to the next round of auditions in August, looking for someone fitting the prototype of Jacob Elordi, Harris Dickinson, or Callum Turner. But there are no specific names in the running. Supposedly, Amazon MGM has not commented. Well, we now know who will hit the stage at the 2026 Canadian Country Music Awards in Saskatoon.
And I believe with the deepest part of my soul.
Dean Brody, who is set to release his 10th studio album called The 10th Album, will hit the stage along with Saskatchewan's own Hunter Brothers. Kelsey Kulik and Just Moskaloop will join them. The James Barker Band, Rec Laws, and Owen Riegling will also perform. The CCMAs are happening at SaskTel Centre in Saskatoon on September 19th. They will air exclusively on CTV and Crave. And while you're at it, grab your boots and hat. Your primetime lineup starts at 7 with CMA Fest. Jelly Roll and Ashley McBride host an evening of entertainment from some of the biggest names in country music. It's all right here tonight on CTV.
Around 80 clubs, maybe 100 clubs.
Back where it all began, why thousands of Vespa riders have scooted their way into Rome from all around the globe.
Women's clothing provided by RW & Company. Salon services provided by S Antique Spa Salon.
25 is the normal high for this time of year, and 25 was the highest temperature of the day. Not a record, but still we'll take it. Tonight, partly cloudy overnight, down to 14 degrees. A risk of a thunderstorm tomorrow afternoon, back up to 25, and then it gets soggy, John, just in time for the weekend.
Fantastic. Yeah. Tens of thousands of enthusiasts from around the world have descended on Rome for a celebration of the world's most recognizable scooter. They're marking the 80th anniversary of the first Vespa scooter. Riders have come from places as far away as Germany, Turkey, Australia, and the Philippines. This Saturday, there will be a Vespa parade through the streets of the Italian capital. Organizers expect some 15,000 people on scooters will take part. At the end of World War II, the company, which has been making military vehicles, switched gears and came up with the vehicle that became a symbol of the country's post-war recovery.
So that was the reason why the legend says that Vespa was created for women and priests, because they both had long skirts.
Oh.
It takes its name from the Italian word for wasp, due to its rounded, long body reminiscent of the insect. I have never once been on a Vespa, have you?
Nor have I.
Well, there we go. Maybe we'll just watch this and find out. Have a good night. We'll see you at 11:30.